By the authority invested in me, I hereby declare this meeting of the Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. Roll call, Mr. Manfredi.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Ms. Sokolowski?
Here.
Ms. Barton?
Here.
Ms. Flanagan?
Here.
Mr. Stokely?
Here.
Ms. Leonard?
Here.
Ms. Tutino?
Present.
Mr. Griffin?
Here.
Mayor Frost?
Here.
All present, sir.
Prayer of council, please rise.
O divine Master, in deep humility, we place ourselves, our thoughts, and our plans in thy hands. We beg thee to fill our minds and our wills with the gifts of wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, and piety. Help us not to think of self or personal desires, but rather consider the responsibilities laid upon us. Help us to promote as far as possible the welfare of our people and to treat them with impartiality and justice. Grant us the power to set a good example in thought, word, and deed, so that thy blessings will be showered upon us and the people we represent. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Mr. Griffin, as you know, an executive session was held immediately prior to this meeting for the purpose of matters of litigation and real estate. And then the first item on the agenda, sir, is the comprehensive plan consulting proposals. We had several proposals submitted, two that are in front of you for review that this evening. Simone Collins was one firm. Mr. Peter Simone is here to do a 5 to 7 minute presentation and answer any questions council has. And then after Mr. Simone, Boucher and James, Judy Stern Goldstein will be here to do the same and answer any questions that council may have regarding their proposal.
Mr. Collins? Simone Collins?
Good evening. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Peter Simone. I'm the principal of Simone Collins Landscape Architecture. We're located a whole 4 miles up the road in Norristown on Lafayette Street. And we've been in business for about 27 years, and I've been practicing for over 40. With me tonight is the other folks that if you retain us, you'll see at all the meetings. PJ?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pankaj Putra, or PJ for short. My name is Pankaj Putra, or PJ for short. I have experience in comprehensive planning, master planning, zone drafting, overlay drafting, and just municipal ordinance reviews. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Natasha Manbeck with McMahon Associates. I'd be the lead transportation planner. I have about 14 years of experience in coordinating transportation and land use, and I have worked specifically on several transportation elements of other comprehensive plans, both as my time at McMahon Associates, but also as the Director of Transportation Services for Chester County Planning Commission, which is the position I held prior to joining McMahon.
And we've worked with McMahon for the full 27 years. We've been in business, and prior to that, when I worked for other firms, I worked with Joe McMahon. So I've been working with McMahon Associates for about 40 years. We collaborate a lot, and we're pretty seamless in terms of how we work. If you looked at our proposal and some of the work that we referenced, you'll see we have a lot of experience in the area. I've listed a few of them here. Media Borough, we did the comp plan. Whitpain, right nearby. Limerick Township. In Exeter right now, we're doing a town center master plan and a waterfront development plan. We normally write lots of ordinances. We did the new zoning ordinance for the King of Prussia Business Improvement District in Upper Merion that took 600 acres of only industrial land, transformed it into mixed use. So this is one of the mainstays of our practice, and we work for municipalities all the time. They're our main clients. We do some private sector work, but it's sparse. Most of the work is for municipal governments, county governments, and state governments. The comprehensive plan, in our view, is as much about the process as the product. I mean, as soon as you say comprehensive plan, everybody's eyes glaze over and they go blank, and it's like, oh, really? We got to do it. But it can be, I think, an engaging and an exciting process if you bring excitement and some innovation to it. And you can go from, as the slide says, from wonky to relevant. I think the thing is, in the borough, you have continually, you're getting new residents. These are the people who are going to take your positions in 10 or 20 years. Now's a chance to engage those folks, get them interested in civic government, and I think it's important. I think this plan can help you do that. And so we've suggested a process, and I won't go through all of it tonight, but that will engage people and make it fun, hopefully. We've suggested themed public meetings where we bring in a guest speaker and do education. Part of this is most of us as citizens have no idea what a zoning ordinance is, no idea what a saldo is, no idea what an official map is. Part of our job is to educate people through this process, and we can bring in speakers who will help do that. And we've suggested some themes in the proposal. We have planned a number of meetings. I will not read them all here. We want to do an online public survey to engage people. Some people can't come to meetings. We have to give them a way to participate. That's a very easy way, doing it through an online survey. We want to use social media. And if you look at our proposal, about 30% of the work is this public engagement process. And we think that's very, very important, because part of the comp plan is, you know, I mean, it really shouldn't be your comp plan. It should be the community's comp plan. And it's very hard. It's very hard sometimes to get people out. So if we're retained, we'll work with you to come up with good ways to get people to these meetings and get them excited. And the other thing is, we all think of comp plans as, well, whatever we come up with a comp plan, it's the borough's responsibility to implement it. We don't think so. We think comp plans can go through a range of issues that deal with quality of life. Is it safe as a woman to be walking down the street at 10 o'clock at night? Do people feel safe? That's a quality of life issue. And it's more than just police enforcement. It's how the street's designed, the lighting, the feel on the street, the activity. Comp plans can deal with cultural and artistic issues, business recruitment. Aging in place is becoming a bigger issue for aging baby boomers like me, who might want to retire in the community I'm living in and not move away. So that's an important issue. We're working actually for a private sector concern in West Conshohocken right now on a retirement community, believe it or not, a high-rise. I don't know if it's going to go forward, but, you know, they don't have any. And there's not a lot in the area. And also school district interface and mass transit. Right now, only about 6% of your commuters, 6.5%, are using mass transit. That number needs to go up if you're going to maintain quality of life here. SEPTA's planning improvements to the station, as you probably know. And how can we get people to the stations to use mass transit? Our project pretty much conforms to what your RFP asked for, a 12-month process. That's in the proposal. We want to build on your comprehensive plan of 2007. The firm who did it, a very good firm, Kai Straw. I think, you know, we've breezed it. It looks like a very well-done plan. I know some of you were involved in it. So how can we build on it? The way the plan's set up, I mean, one of the first things we can do with you and the committee is, what have you achieved from that 2007 plan? And the things that you haven't achieved, which are not unusual, are those still relevant? And do we need to add to those things? And I'm sure we will. So I think you're starting on a very good foot here. You know, you're a community in transition, and actually when I looked at these numbers, I was surprised, because my perception of Conshohocken is it's bursting at the seams, has more residents than it ever has had. Well, that's not the case. Obviously, going back to 1980, you had more residents than you have now. So how is your community changing, and how do you want it to change? Home ownership is 51% now. Well, it used to be 61% in 2000. Now, is that an issue? Is that a problem? You're a special community. Typically, a rule of thumb is 30-70, 70% home ownership, 30% not home ownership. That's sort of a rule of thumb that planners have. But I think you're a special community. You have a certain cachet. You're attracting a certain type of young professional. So this is something that I think needs a lot of discussion. Your household income levels, 40% of your household incomes are up $75,000 or more. That's pretty healthy, and you're probably going to get healthier. So that's a good thing, I think. And how is that trend going to go forward? And then if we look at just degrees that you have with your residents, you can see, you know, you've got a large registered nursing degree population, liberal arts and sciences. You can read these: child care and support, criminal justice. You've got a variety of degrees of the citizens who live here, which is, I think, pretty interesting. And then here's a breakdown of occupations by industry. And this is I think, a pretty healthy mix. You've got a pretty good diversity, but as we work with you, we'll look at these and we'll say, okay, what are the areas where we should be a little higher on, and where should we'll look in terms of business recruitment and that type of a thing? And that's something that you can actively do as you go forward. And then occupations by share, in those industries, what types of jobs are in those industries? And if you look at this too, you can tell what types of employees you have within those industries. And I think that's the type of analysis, and this stuff is all readily available. We didn't spend a lot of time getting this, as you probably can imagine. It's all out there. It's just how you use it, and how you're smart with how you use it. And I think that's important. And then we did a little fun thing. We looked at Conshohocken versus Austin, Texas. Now, Austin, Texas is a much bigger city than Conshohocken by many, many times. But if you look at the occupations by share between Conshohocken and Austin, they're pretty similar. There's some very similar numbers here in terms of management and food industries and sales and things like that. And Austin, they're starting to level off with their population growth. They're starting to maybe either be constant or lose a few people as they're going forward. But that's viewed as a very, very healthy community. And your numbers are not far off. So I think it could be fun to look at other communities, what their numbers are compared to yours in terms of is Conshohocken doing the right things to attract a diversity of businesses and income levels and things like that, housing types. The proposal we've given you, we think it's pretty cost effective. We think it's very efficient, and we've spelled out in our proposal every dollar that we're spending. So to wrap up, and then we'll be happy to try to entertain your questions, why should you retain our team? That's really why we're here tonight, to convince you to hire us. First of all, we think we have an innovative approach. It is difficult to get people excited about the comp plan. There's no two ways about it. But there may be ways, and maybe our proposal is a start. We want to entertain your ideas and the committee's ideas of how to get people at meetings. We have a proven team, Simone Collins and McMahon. We've worked together a lot. And I think if you look at the work we've done, you'll see it is very high quality. We have a lot of relevant experience, both firms, in what you want to do here. We have excellent reputations, and those reputations are hard to come by. And it just doesn't happen. It's because we take a lot of care in what we do. We do a lot of hard work, and a lot of competent firms out there, obviously. But if you look at our reputation and also our references, I think you'll find they're very good. We also have a record of implementing plans. If you look at some of the comp plans or some of the master plans we've done, and I'll use Limerick as an example, we did their comp plan in 2009. In 2013, we did their Greenway plan, which 15 years ago, supervisors were almost all unelected because they suggested trails. The public sentiment about trails is changing, not everywhere, but it's changing. 2013, we did their Greenway plan, and last year we wrote a grant to the TAP program for $1 million, which we're working on now, implementing their trails. And we've done the same thing with their zoning districts and other things. So we have a record of working with clients over a period of years. Hopefully, if you hire us, we can work with you for a while. That we don't just want to do a plan that's going to be, a nice, pretty document, but something that you can implement and help you get to where you want to go. And the other thing is we have a good record, both firms, of securing grants for our clients. Last year, Simone Collins wrote $3.35 million in grants for our clients, for various clients, going from $25,000 up to $1 million. So it's one of the things we do. We're not going to do that in the comp plan, but if you continue to work with us, we can do that. And in the comp plan, one of our tasks and responsibilities is as we identify whether it be projects to do, whether it's a planning project or a construction project, we can help point you in the right direction. What programs should you be focusing on? So with that, we're done. There should be some kind of hands down. I have a handout for you, which just goes over really these points, and it also has a schedule and the fee proposal. So with that, PJ or Natasha and I can try to address questions you might have. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Reading through the proposal you sent us via email, you mentioned that you did some work in media with historical buildings. Could someone elaborate, or?
Well, the work we did in
Historic
the work we did in media was their comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
It's the same plan that you'd be undertaking here.
Right.
Part of that, and I'm going from memory here, which is a little faulty, but was identifying historic structures, talking about how to continue to preserve those, and we made some recommendations. If I'm sure you know media, it's one of your competitors. They have a great restaurant group there and some really cool stores. But one of the things we did was suggest some changes to zoning that would help repurpose some of the buildings and also retain those. We didn't really get into lots of historic preservation on that, and I'm not sure what you're referring
Or
to.
a zoning piece to?
It was a zoning piece as part of the comprehensive plan, yes.
Okay.
Are you currently working with any local areas on their comprehensive plans?
I don't think we are. We finished Whitpain a couple of years ago. We're not currently engaged in a comp plan per se, so no.
When was the last comp plan that you actually,
I think the one in Whitpain we finished about a year and a half ago or
Okay.
thereabouts.
and the team that you have in front of us would be the team that would be working with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
And we did that comp plan with McMahon, too. They were part of the team.
In the event that you got more business, would your firm be changing up the team, or what is your concept of load balancing for work?
That wouldn't be our intent. So no, I mean, we're busy right now. Thank goodness. We've survived the Great Recession, and so we're both firms are busy, but we don't have a good reputation based upon not meeting schedules or going over budget or any of that stuff. I mean, we're, as I said, most of the work that Simone Collins does is for municipal clients, and municipal clients don't like to go over budget or extend the schedule. We think 12 months is generous. If you look at the schedule, we have a 60-day draft plan review period, so that's a little bit of a cushion. And I think, our experience is 9 to 12 months is usually about the right time for these types of plans.
How many employees you have?
We are at 9 right now, Simone Collins. McMahon is probably 100 and what?
Over 150. We're across the East Coast.
When you talk about the train station, what do you think we need now?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what SEPTA's plans are. I mean, we're not in a position that we know enough about the borough and SEPTA's plans to tell you. I'll tell you what we are doing, another analogous study in Abington. Abington Township, a couple of years ago, we did their bicycle plan, their master plan for the entire township. Then we wrote a grant to DVRPC through their TCDI program to do what we called Walk, Park, Train Abington, which is a program designed to specifically get people to their 7 train stations. Much different, obviously, it's a 50,000-person community, they have 7 train stations. So we got the grant, we're working with SEPTA presently and PennDOT to develop that plan to really help SEPTA get more ridership. And one of the things we're looking to do is, where can we increase parking? How can we make the experience of walking to the train better? You've got a hilly community. Would an e-bike, an electric bike share system work here? Do you have enough density? Pottstown, one of your sister boroughs, they have a bike share program. They've had it for a couple of years. It's small, it's very popular, it works well. So I don't know what the solution is because we don't know enough yet to make suggestions.
Thank you.
More questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for your time. We hope you hire us.
Thank you.
Take me a second to deconnect here.
You should have your committee together, then bring them in. He's gonna talk about it. I think you should have a committee together first.
Night.
Good night.
Okay, Mr. James?
She is
James?
waiting, it's Judy Goldstein, she is coming in now.
Here, how are you?
Nice to see you.
It's good to see you. You too. Well, just take off my coat. Hello.
Hello.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to come in tonight. I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to seeing much more of you. So should I just start in? Okay. I'm Judy Stern-Goldstein with Boucher and James. We submitted a proposal, obviously, to prepare the comprehensive plan. I thought I would start by telling you just a little bit about the company, a little bit about the staff that will be working on the comp plan, and then our approach to the comp plan. So Boucher and James, Inc. was founded in 1962 by Tom James and Norm Boucher, a surveyor and engineer. And fast forward many years, they originally was surveying engineering. Since then, we've added environmental engineering, planning, landscape architecture, and code enforcement. When I joined the firm in 1997, which it's hard to believe has been 20 years this month, I was brought on board to start up the landscape architecture and planning department. In that 20 years, we've grown to be an integral part of the company. The company's evolved and changed. We're no longer sole ownership or family-owned company. At the end of 2012, we became an ESOP, which is essentially an employee-owned company, a pension plan. And I'm one of the 4 managing directors. So I've been with the company a long time. Ross Boucher, who was the son of the founder and was our former president and CEO, brought me on board. We were childhood friends. So I've been with the company a long time. We currently have 29 municipalities that we represent, either as engineer, planner, or landscape architect. 10 of those municipalities, I'm proud to say, are representative as planner and landscape architect, and we enjoy working with them immensely. We have a depth of staff. We have 56 employees throughout the various disciplines. In the LA and planning department, we have a staff of 7. And then we also have support staff and administrative staff that works with us. For the comprehensive plan for Conshohocken, I will be the lead. I will be the principal in charge. As I said, I've been with the company for 20 years, and I have 33-plus years of experience in the field. I'm both the head of the landscape architecture and planning department and managing director of the company, so you have a tie right to the top, if I can say that. Working with me as project manager will be Stacy Yoder. Stacy Yoder's been with me 11 years. The first 2 were part-time while she was getting her master's at Penn. After that, she took 2 years off and worked in the city and lived in the city and came back to us. So she's been with us a total of 11 years with a little 2-year gap. And she has over 16 years of experience in the field. My undergrad degree is from Penn, and my master's is from Penn in landscape architecture and regional planning. Stacy has a master's in city planning from Penn also, and her undergrad was at Bloomsburg. And then our support staff that will be working with us on the team, Valerie Liggett has been with me 13 and a half years, 15 years total experience, and she has a degree from Penn State. Last but not least on the project team is Mike Buki. He's been with me 2 years, 15 years total experience. God bless you. And his degree is from Ohio State, little rivalry with the Penn State and Ohio State people in the office. We have a full staff to complete all the aspects of the comprehensive plan. No need for a sub-consultant to work with us. It would all be handled in-house with one contact. And I'm proud of our staff. We have a real strong staff. They've each been encouraged to excel in the profession on their own and as part of the company. And I, along with all of my staff, have been called on to speak at many professional conferences and seminars. I'm proud of them and the work they do. Everyone has pursued their own niche, and together we've all come together with a lot of knowledge. Our LA and planning staff works with many municipalities throughout the region. As I mentioned, we represent 10, and then we work with many others on a project-by-project basis. We represent municipalities in Montgomery, Bucks, Chester, Berks, Northampton, Lehigh, and Monroe counties on a regular basis. And in addition to the ones we represent on a regular basis, we've also done comprehensive plans, village studies, corridor studies, economic development plans, park recreation, open space comprehensive plans, and many other planning studies for individual clients, individual municipalities, I should say. Our approach to comprehensive plan is that no two are ever alike. And first of all, I have to say congratulations to Conshohocken for being named one of the 10 hottest suburban Philly towns. That was exciting to read and to say and hopefully to be a part of. But each comprehensive plan is unique, just as Conshohocken is unique. And, you know, reading the article in Philadelphia Magazine, it touched on part of what Conshohocken is, but I grew up in Doylestown in the 60s, and I know Conshohocken from then. It didn't touch on the grittiness that I think makes Conshohocken what it is and part of the special place. It touched on mostly the grit, or the glass and the glitz. But the glass and the grits and the grit all have to come together. And I look forward to working to help that come together for the future. Each of our comprehensive plans takes on a look, a shape, and a feel of the municipality. I have a couple just to hold up. Northampton Township Park Recreation Open Space Comprehensive Plan. It was done as a 3-ring binder because there are many parts that need to be used on a regular basis, and you can just take things out and put them back in for the staff. This one is titled Set into Motion. It was done for Lower Saucon Township just a couple years ago, actually just 2 years ago. It's their Economic Development Task Force report. Get them from where they are to where they want to be. And then the small little borough of Delaware Water Gap, they had a lot of problems. It was a town basically formed by fire that, you know, all the old resorts burnt down, and we helped them re-identify themselves and sort of rebrand themselves as ecotourism. With our help, they became an Appalachian Trail town, and ecotourism is where their money is now. So that's been exciting to watch and follow. But each of the plans takes on a different look and feel. We believe totally in transparency, public input. We occasionally have the municipality that wants to handle it all just from a committee and nothing else. We encourage public input, need to engage all the stakeholders. If you don't engage the stakeholders, the plan is not theirs. The plan is not mine. The plan is yours. So it needs to be embraced by you and the stakeholders. Need to get people involved, not just a few people, but as many as possible. Need to represent all areas and walks of life, socioeconomic groups, new and long-term residents and business owners alike. To do that, we encourage a lot of citizen participation. And in our proposal, if you read through it, you'll see that we recommend a questionnaire survey, a citizen survey, be hosted on SurveyMonkey. We would encourage all different methods of social media to get the word out, Facebook, Twitter, your website. Use a grassroots campaign also. All of the task force members would be encouraged to use their personal Facebook, Twitter accounts, announcements, get the word out, LinkedIn, everything you can. And also door to door. Each person on your task force will represent their constituency. So we're going to encourage them to get the word out for the public participation parts of it. We would also recommend a public visioning meeting in which we would use the nominative group technique. You've probably all seen different versions of it, the little dots, you know. People break into small groups. We write the stuff on the newsprint. My staff is highly trained in that. We enjoy doing it. We learn so much every time we do that study. And people enjoy voting with their dots. And then also meetings with the task force and stakeholder groups or a representative from each ward during the key milestone points of the study. The meat and potatoes of each of these plans, and your comp plan will be the action plan. It's something that is meant to be taken out. In fact, these pages that I'm holding here, it's 7 pages right from the center of that report. It's the action plan. Throughout the comprehensive plan, we'll develop specific goals, world-reaching goals. Each goal will have a number of objectives, and under each objective will be a task to achieve that objective to meet that goal. So we have a goal, an objective, a task, the person or entity that would be responsible for achieving that task, and the time frame. The time frame, sometimes people like to say priority 1, 2, or 3. We like to do time frame, short term, midterm, and long term, because sometimes one of the things that's the most important priority is not going to happen in the first year. So it could be a very high priority, but the time frame would be long-term. So we have that. It's meant to be part of a living document. You take it out. Your borough manager, your staff can have this handy, look at it, keep it relevant, keep it going, and achieve your goals. This is another one, different format, different plan. This was from East County Township. And we helped them check things off. One of the items in East County's action plan was to adopt an official plan to reserve some land for a future roadway improvement and connection. That official plan was just adopted in December, so it's nice to see them staying relevant and being adopted. The plan's not intended to sit on a shelf. Again, it needs to be relevant, needs to be active, needs to be both a dream for the future and a roadmap to get you there. It's important to dream. Too many times people are just too realistic and stuck in today when doing a comp plan. We're looking to the future, so you need to dream, but you need a roadmap to tell you how to get to the dream. Needs to respect the past, cherish what makes Conshohocken unique, and look to the future. Need to look beyond the 10 years, what's specified in the NPC. We look out to the year 2040 right now because that's as far as the population projections from DPRPC will go for us. So we think it's important to look as far as you can. The real success in doing a comprehensive plan is to have one that's relevant in the future. We will guide the task force, but we will not coerce them. We will not force the issue. We will not say what the conclusions need to be. We will guide them to help reach conclusions. The plan, I can't stress enough, needs to belong to the community. As planners, we see ourselves as guides to help you get there. And our approach to working with the task force is that we'll provide meeting materials a week prior to each meeting to the borough in digital format. The borough will send it out to the task force, and the task force will review the info. I'm known for giving homework to our clients. If you're on a task force, you get homework from Judy. The homework will be to prepare for that meeting. The meetings will be active. They'll be working meetings. They're meant to finish the task that's at hand. We're going to be on a tight time frame. You saw the time frame developed by the borough. In order to finish this within that year and have that adopted, we need to meet certain goals along the way. So our job is to keep you going. We'll distribute chapters for review as they're completed at the monthly meetings. So by the time you get to the end and you see the full draft, it shouldn't be a surprise because you've been reviewing them as we go. We write much the way we've all been taught to write as kids. You start with an outline, develop what your chapters are going to be, fill them in, do the work as you're working. So we write as we work, and we share that writing with you. And we make amendments and changes with the task force meeting. We'll work closely with your borough staff and borough manager. We know that the best laid plans are changed at some point. We are flexible. When something needs to take a right turn, it's not the way we thought it was going to go. We take that right turn and we make sure that you know where that right turn's leading. So we're flexible as things go. But I can't stress enough, the real thing is it's the borough's plan, and we would be honored to work with the borough to achieve your dreams.
Thank you.
That was my spiel. Thank you. I believe the time frame was to be adopted next March, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Judy, you have one comprehensive plan in progress right now with your company?
In progress right now, we're working on Warminster's comprehensive plan. In fact, Stacy Yoder couldn't come with me tonight because she's at their comprehensive plan subcommittee meeting. In progress, that's the only one in progress. We're working on a couple other park recreation comprehensive plans right now, but one in progress.
And then your team that you outlined to us would be the team from inception through?
Yes, it would be. And you can tell they're all long-term employees, with the exception of Mike, who will be long-term when he's here long enough.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the time.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and you have your three items for consent: acceptance of the February Treasurer's report and approval of accounts payable. The curb cut permit ordinance, which you recall was the ordinance that was sponsored by Ms. Leonard and Mr. Stokely, and the authorization of an ordinance amendment for a dog-friendly park. Mr. Savona will draft that once you authorize it, and he and I will be discussing means to do that so that you can adopt dog-friendly parks by resolution or some other manner, so we don't have to amend the ordinance every time. So that is your consent agenda for the evening, and if the council's so inclined, you can approve the consent agenda with a motion to approve items A through C.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Griffin, under unfinished business, I will turn item A, the public hearing for the Historic Conservation Overlay Ordinance, to Mr. Savona, and we do have a court reporter who is here for that purpose. Mr. Savona?
Give her a minute to get. Mr. President, members of council, we're on the record. This is the time and place advertised for a public hearing for adoption of a zoning ordinance amendment to create a historic preservation overlay residential zoning district. I'm going to mark a number of documents as exhibits for the purposes of this hearing. We'll mark as Exhibit 1 a confirmation from the Intelligencer that the advertisement for this evening's hearing was advertised or was scheduled to be advertised 2 times on February 28th and March 7th as required by the municipality's planning code. Exhibit 2 will be a copy of the draft proposed ordinance to create the Historic Conservation Overlay District. Exhibit 3 will be a copy of the January 26, 2017 submittal for review by the Borough to the Montgomery County Planning Commission. Exhibit 4 is a copy of the Montgomery County Planning Commission's March 7, 2017 review and comment letter. And Exhibit 5 will be a copy of the report to the Borough Council from the Conshohocken Borough Planning Commission regarding their review and recommendation of the ordinance on March the 9th, 2017. As council is aware, we have talked for a number of years about the possibility of instituting regulations as a part of our zoning district regulations for the residential districts BR1, BR2, and RO to preserve the character of the borough's existing residential neighborhoods by balancing or attempting to balance the densities in those areas by prohibiting the wholesale demolition and removal of larger single-family, single-lot houses. As a result of council's desire to help preserve those structures without wholesale removal to accommodate development of more dense multi-unit structures, the ordinance before you this evening would create an overlay district across all of the borough's residential zoning districts, BR1, BR2, and the RO, that would require conditional use approval by council before a permit could be issued for demolition of any of those structures which predate 1967. That date is not necessarily arbitrary. The historic preservation standards for the National Register typically consider any buildings older than 50 years old to be of historical or potentially historical significance. The borough's comprehensive plan indicates that most of your existing housing stock in the residential areas, the ones that we would be interested in protecting, the single-family residentials, typically predate 1967. So the decision to go with the recommended 1967 date's not arbitrary. It was designed to sort of accommodate what you are trying to protect, the existing single-family housing stock. The ordinance will establish a number of conditional use criteria that, as I said, would require a hearing and an approval by council prior to the approval of a demolition permit for those structures. Again, this would not prohibit, and I think we've had recently some examples where a larger lot property with a single-family house has subdivided and sold off the excess property. That would not be prohibited or require conditional use approval because the removal of that structure isn't proposed. But where someone is proposing to remove a single house on a single lot in order to construct a more dense array of residential housing stock, that would require some additional approval by council. It's not prohibited, but it would require stricter scrutiny and a hearing before council before you could do that. The ordinance has been recommended by the County Planning Commission and the Borough Planning Commission. In addition, under this proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance, there are some provisions to amend Part 15 of the zoning ordinance, which deals with the SP1 and SP2 zoning districts. These relate to the height regulations in those districts. It also creates a conditional use provision to allow the increase in height where, in those areas where the FAR, the floor area ratio, exceeds what can be built under the existing height cap, which council changed in 2013. We are allowing for some additional height, again, by conditional use after a hearing and approval by council, in order to accommodate what right now is an imbalance between the FAR ratios that are approved for those two districts and the height regulations. So that is the sum and substance of the proposed zoning amendment. If council has any comments or questions, we can address those. Otherwise, it would be appropriate for council to consider any comments from the public, and then to consider, if you're inclined, a motion to approve the ordinance. Any comments?
Any comment from the
Public comment?
Public comment?
Hearing none, if there's no further business with respect to the hearing, then we would close the testimony in the hearing portion of this ordinance consideration. And, Mr. President, a motion would be in order as advertised to approve the adoption of the ordinance.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Have a second? Have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item on the agenda will also be with Mr. Savona, authorization to advertise an SP4 ordinance.
Yes, as council is well aware, we have for some time been considering various iterations and drafts of the SP4 ordinance. Council did complete the public hearing cycle for the SP4 ordinance. As a result of that process, the ordinance has been revised to address a number of concerns that council brought forward during the course of the hearings. Significant to those changes are a couple of which I'll highlight just for general public consumption. As council is aware, one of the provisions that was proposed in the SP4 ordinance and discussed at some length during the public hearing process was the provision of parking on the site. How the parking was to be calculated, the shared parking analysis that was proposed, the parking reduction credits, and one of the provisions related to holding parking in reserve and allowing a developer to basically forego building parking spaces that would otherwise be required. Council wanted to see those provisions taken out of the ordinance so that the parking reserve features would not be part of the approved ordinance. The draft that's before you for authorization to advertise removes those provisions. In addition, council asked that, and the developer requested that the council consider allowing some mixed-use component to the buildings, which are currently, as you know, the site is proposed to be developed with 2 office buildings and 1 hotel, as well as the parking garage. Allowing a mixed use would essentially allow those buildings to mimic what you see in the city in new construction, where you have a mix of retail, commercial office, residential, hotel uses all in one tower. The developer here asked for the ability to allow for, I think, up to 40% of the building to be occupied by condominiums or residential units. That, again, affects and rebalances the parking ratios in the shared parking analysis. So you asked that we revise the ordinance to include those provisions, which this draft has included. And finally, the council asked for some additional scrutiny with respect to the restaurant and liquor license establishment uses that would be proposed on the site. So we have added provisions to allow for a conditional use hearing so that council would have the ability to approve additional liquor licenses over and above, not including the hotel building, because obviously that's a different class of license and a different class of users. So provisions to implement those changes have been added. At this point, although we've been through one round of public hearings, because we're making what we would consider substantive changes to the draft, under the Municipal Planning Code, we will be required to resubmit this ordinance both to the County Planning Commission, the Conshohocken Planning Commission, and to advertise another public hearing. So the matter that's before you this evening is simply to authorize the advertisement for that hearing. That'll enable us to go through the process to adopt the ordinance again and obviously council would have another opportunity to ask questions and hear testimony with respect to the ordinance before you would adopt it. So if council's inclined, a motion would be in order this evening to authorize advertising the SP4 ordinance as amended, and then we will bring this back for a hearing at a later date on another agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I have to recuse myself.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
That's all, Mr. Manfredi.
Thank you, Mr. Sedona. The next item on the agenda, Mr. President, is to authorize advertisement of an ordinance for medical marijuana zoning use. Given the discussions that Mr. Savona has had with various entities and with council, my recommendation is that we simply remove this item from the agenda this evening and place it on a future agenda at a more appropriate time if that is necessary. If that being the case, it will simply be removed. We won't table it, it'll just be it'll be on another agenda item. There is one item that I will want to add to as G when we get there that is not on your agenda, which I will talk about why at that time. That came up at the work session. But the next item on the agenda and item D with the interviews, and then items E and F, Mr. Griffin, with your indulgence, I'll turn over to Ms. Sokolowski as they are related to the Comprehensive Plan Task Force.
Thank you. So we'll begin the interviews. We're down to the last 3 candidates to interview for the Comprehensive Plan Task Force. I am excited and happy to say that we've had 16 very good applicants apply to be part of the Comprehensive Task Force. So we have Mr. Garbotz. Hiya. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
I'm Tina Sokolowski. I am the councilperson elected as chair for the Comprehensive Plan Task Force. So we just want to get to know you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I've lived all my life in the Conshohocken area. Taught school for 47 years. I've recently retired. I've been involved in a lot of different activities, both with the school and outside the school. For example, I did coach Little League, Legion Ball. I coached in high school. I announced basketball games. I've taken students to Washington, D.C. with Close Up Washington, a week trip. We talked to our representatives and senators and got to know the workings of Washington, D.C. And involved in a lot of other activities and different works, for example, during the summer.
Great. What interests you about participating on the task force?
Since I retired, I sort of like to give back. I've been giving a lot, so here I have some time, so I try to give back, try to help our community be better. For example, now I do volunteer at a soup kitchen and also at Spring Mill Presbyterian Home. I have a men's group, a discussion group. There's a lot of activities for the elderly women, but they really had nothing for the men, so I go down there once a week. We have discussions on current affairs and other things that do interest them. And I figured I'd like to get involved in what's happening in Conshohocken, building up our community, because I think it's a changing community. I've seen what it was like in the past, how we're changing. I think there's a lot of good things. I think there's a lot of reasons that we should be proud of our community, the things that we do have. So in a sense, I would like to continue that and be part of that.
What special interests do you have in the borough that you'd like to see addressed in the comprehensive plan?
One of the major things, I guess I've seen recently, we've become a community where there's a lot of renters. I would like to see us become more family-oriented and continue to build up some of the things we do have for the kids, like the Little League, etc. I think for a small community like we have here, I think we are really proud of our parks and our sports programs. I'd like to see those things continue. But also, I think we have to look at senior citizens and help make life a little bit better for them, not to push them aside. Because oftentimes what happens, we do think of the youth, the young people, and we do forget about senior citizens.
So we see in the borough there's a lot of constant change, and it's going on around us. How do you see the development of the updated comprehensive plan getting out there to the residents to see what the future is? What do you see your role as part of that would be?
Well, part of it, I think, is just talking to various people in the community, getting their ideas. And then I think the next step is with the planning committee to get together to brainstorm. I think what we need are people who, number one, listen, because all too often people have their own ideas and they don't want to listen to others. And I think that's the first step, is to listen to the citizens and then listen to each other. I think we have to look at responsibility, that as a borough, we are responsible to the people, responsible to the senior citizens, responsible to the young people, responsible to everyone, to listen to these people. But also, when we do come up with a plan or have a vision for the future, I think one of the most important things, we do have to look at consequences. All too often, we have these plans and we envision what we would like to see. But unfortunately, sometimes there are unintended consequences. And I think what we have to do is to look at the unintended consequences and how that might impact on what we are doing as well.
Great, thanks. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us or for us to know about you?
I think I'm a good listener. I'd like to get involved to help others. And in a sense, I'd like to give back, because in my life, I feel that I've been blessed, with a lot of good things. And I'd like to see this continue with others, and I'd like to be part of that.
Anyone have any questions?
Any questions?
Great.
Thank
Well, it was
you.
nice to meet you, and thank you for coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Do you have any questions for us? Let's start that. I forgot that piece.
All right, well, as far as the task force, what would be the timing, framework of times, meetings, et cetera?
So what we're looking at is basically 1 year endeavor. So March of this year through March of next year. We're thinking that to get the task force up and running, there might be 1 to 2 meetings initially to get started a month, and then basically monthly meetings. And then there would be work that you would do as part of your team, piece of the team, that would go on throughout that month.
As far as the committee, how would we go about talking to the people in the community? Is there any avenue of connection with the people in the community?
So yeah, that's a big part of where we want to go with this plan, because the plan is for the community and it should be written by the community. We're looking at engaging a company that will help us be able to creatively bring the community together and be part of it in either group working meetings or special events. So there's lots of different ideas on how you can engage the community, and then which sections of the actual plan the community input will really be important for, and then which parts that the community will be able to actually get their voices heard in. So definitely what we're looking for from this council is transparency for our community as we move forward. A lot of change going on, a lot of big decisions that we have to make, and we need the input of the community to know how to answer those questions as we move forward on some of these big decisions. Anything else?
That should be it.
Great, thank you.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, we have Stacy Elm.
This might be John's daughter.
It is. It is.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Stacy.
Good evening.
Hi, Stacy,
Council,
welcome.
how's everybody doing?
If you'd like to sit, you can sit. You don't have to stand. Make yourself comfortable. No, you don't.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. So, Stacy, I am Tina Sokolowski. I have been appointed as the head of the Comprehensive Plan Task Force for the council seat. And what we're doing is we're just interviewing candidates who are interested to help us in this endeavor. And let's start out by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
For those of you who don't know me, and that's very few of you, my name is Stacy Elam. I grew up in Conshohocken. I lived my majority of my life here. My wife and I moved back here to raise our daughter here. I was a school teacher, and I've spent the last few years raising our daughter, and I'm ready to start getting involved again. This came up and thought it would be the perfect opportunity to start getting back to the town.
What interests you about participating on the task force specifically?
I think Conshohocken is truly at a crossroads. I think there's a lot of big plans and big ideas that have been brought forth and may or may not be executed. And I want to make sure that the same town that I grew up in and I love is still here for my daughter. It's a community, and I want to make sure that community feel stays where it is, and I think being involved in the process is something important to me, and important to my family, and important to the town.
What special interests in the borough would you like to see addressed in the plan?
I think thoughtful use of open space that we have, thoughtful use of current buildings. I know there's a big proposal for Fayette and Elm Street coming up. I want to make sure that that vision is in line with what the borough stands for. I want to make sure that our constituents and the people in the town are actually being heard, that they have a voice and they understand that they have different outlets, people they can talk to.
A lot of change going on in the world and in Conshohocken.
Correct.
How do you see the development of an updated comprehensive plan could be adopted and then socialized or inform the public once we get it up and running? So how do you how would you see that happening to make sure that for transparency?
What would be rolled out to the public. I think a lot of times meetings are held for certain situations and they're not well advertised or well, notifications don't necessarily go out. If somebody's on Facebook, that's great, they get the message. Sometimes you get a mailer. Sometimes people just say, oh, and they toss it aside. I think that personal contact is something that really needs to be done. I think you need to knock on doors, you need to talk to people. There's a lot of new families in town that are not privy or understand how the town and the community work, and they want to be part of the community, and they're not sure how to get involved. And the people who are here, who grew up here, need to be able to almost pass that torch to help them understand what the importance of the town is.
Is there anything else you'd like us to know about you?
I would absolutely love to be part of this task force. I think it would be one of the more exciting things in town going on. And from what I read in the description, there's going to be a lot of that person-to-person interaction, talking to people in the town. And really, I'm excited to move the town into the 21st century while still retaining that small town feel. It's a very delicate balance that needs to be handled. And it'll be very interesting to go through that process.
Anyone have any questions?
Anybody else got any questions? No. Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
I do not. I'm okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stacy.
Didn't show up?
The last interview is Mr. Lonergan, and he is not here yet, as at this
Yeah.
moment. Scheduled for 7:50. Was he here and left? But do you know? Okay.
Okay, well then I would conclude the interviews at this point. We'll end up with 15 candidates. What I did was hand out to council the list of all of the interview candidates, and I would ask that this week we kind of go through it, figure out how to rate our selections, and then we can compile it, and hopefully by Wednesday of next week, we can get that information to Mr. Manfredi. Is that fair?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, so by Wednesday of next week, Mr. Manfredi, you should have the information, and we'll be able to reach out to the folks that were appointed to the task force.
Okay. Will you want to then ratify those at a future meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. And then with respect to the consultants, do you want to take time to think about the presentations and the proposals and also do that at a future meeting?
Yes, I would, thank you.
Okay, that will take care of items E and F as well. The only other item that is not on the agenda, but we talked about at the work session, I had asked you at the work session to authorize me to bind us for insurance for the year beginning April 1 of 2017 through 2018. Ms. Checo and I have been going back and forth regularly with our broker, Cohen Partners, to try to make sure that where we are with our insurance premiums for our general liability, property, commercial, umbrella, cyber, workers' comp, and workers' comp for the volunteer fire companies is broken down and justified. The good news is we are to a point where the annual cost will be literally within $2,000 of this current premium that is expiring at the end of this month. The premium renewal will be $608,307. $608,307, and the premiums that are expiring were $609,119. In discussions with the brokers today, some of the information they've given us, there's a lot of things in the classifications in the commercial auto as well, and more specifically in the general liability, that we have a lot of questions about. In the commercial auto, which was the largest increase, which was $15,000, questions that he is working through to answer to us that we have not on the values of each. We have increased equipment, we have increased vehicles, but there are still things that, frankly, the answers for the increases aren't satisfactory. But we are to a point where it's important that we bind the insurance. And what I would ask council to do is to authorize the binding of the insurance for the 2017 renewal at a number to not exceed the $608,307, with the premiums to the broker to not exceed $31,507.80, which is their broker fees. It would be to Travelers Insurance at those numbers to not exceed those for all of the insurances, with the exception of the workers' compensation for the volunteer fire company and all at Pennsylvania State Workers Insurance Fund. All other insurances would be with Travelers as they are right now. They really did not have a lot of companies that they quoted outside of it. There were two others. They said they were working on a few, but frankly, with our workers' comp issues, the good piece is this. There's a good news and a bad news. Our experience modification went from 1.739 to 1.563. That's good news. The part of that that's not so certain yet is that a lot of the numbers from this year aren't included in this. So while the number did go down by $20,000 in premiums, there are activities in workers' compensation this year which may see an increase next year. So, but for this insurance renewal period, those numbers are what they are. So, if council would.
Contract is 1 year?
It is. It is a premium April 1, 2017 through April 1, 2018.
Anyone? I don't have any questions.
Okay.
When will they have those answers for you as to why the numbers are different?
Well, we had hoped, and I know Stephanie was working the phone today quite a bit, going back and forth. They've given us information. There were things that we both picked up that didn't really satisfy us as far as justification. But frankly, at this point, it's just a matter of getting justification in a form that we're satisfied with. The numbers are what they are, and we don't see those numbers changing. And certainly, the commitment we did get today is that it would be a not to exceed.
Okay.
So if the authorization is there to bind insurance with Travelers in a state workers' insurance fund at those numbers I mentioned, 608, 307, with the commissions at 31,507.80 to be appropriate for a motion.
Right. I'll make that motion to approve.
I got a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And when we have all the details, we will certainly provide that to you.
Motion's carried.
Mr. Griffin, there is no additional unfinished business, and there's no business scheduled for the agenda this evening.
Can I have some public comment again? Public comment?
Were any other?
Step to the mic.
Hi, quick question about the insurance. I wondered if any other proposals were offered?
We assigned the broker of record to Cohen Partners, who won that last year. 2 years ago, every 3 years, we look at brokers of record.
Okay.
And last year, the broker of record went to Cohen Partners, and they have really scoured. The issue we have, the problem we've had the last several years is our workers' compensation.
Okay.
And just so you understand, the only company that would provide us a quote on our general liability and all others with workers' compensation was Travelers.
So just to be clear, you only received one quote as a borough. It was the package and workers' compensation combined?
No, we received 2 other insurance companies that the broker had negotiated with. The only package that they're recommending to us that's worth looking at is the package that includes Travelers.
Okay, I guess from a resident standpoint, is there a workers' compensation quote as well that was separate?
We could not get separate workers' comps quotes because no one would quote it.
Thank you.
That's why, just so you understand, that's why we're with the state workers' insurances.
It might help if you understand, of the $609,000 Mr. Manfredi quoted for the entire insurance package, what, 422,000 of that
Is a workers' compensation.
422?
Yeah.
422,612 of the 608 is for workers' compensation. That's non-volunteer fire company. 35,829 is for the volunteer fire company.
Thank you.
Do you mind just stating your name and where you live?
Hi, my name's Steve Farino. I live on 5th and Maple.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Go ahead.
Just a quick question, I'm Esther Pulver. I live at 1205 Hallowell. Just, can I get a little clarification on the second half of the zoning amendment that was approved tonight? I'm sorry, I didn't understand the detail when I came in, and I didn't hear. Mike, I think you explained it, but I just want a little more detail.
There's in the
The
SP1
FAR and height. I'm sorry, the FAR.
Yes.
height.
You don't?
Thank you.
Okay. In the SP1 and SP2 district right now, we allow a certain amount of floor area ratio to carry over across the site. And when council changed the height limitations in the SP1 and SP2 districts in 2013, we reduced the maximum height that was permitted. I think it was 85 feet. That does not allow for the full development of the full FAR that's still permitted without creating sort of sprawling buildings like you see in Washington, D.C., because the heights are artificially compressed. Then you end up with large sprawling buildings in order to accomplish what's otherwise developable. In order to correct that, we've allowed for a conditional use process that would still have to come in front of council for a hearing, but it allows them to exercise additional height if they demonstrate compliance with the conditional use criteria that resolves that friction between the permitted FAR and the restricted height.
And is there a sample of any particular development in current?
It's a. I think there's an application that's pending in front of the zoning hearing board now that highlights that problem.
Correct.
And we've run into that before with other development projects. So council made the decision, since we were putting the zoning amendment through for the historic district overlay, that since we had a vehicle moving through the process to do a zoning amendment, we added those provisions to address that inconsistency.
So that would allow the height to increase?
It allows for a conditional use hearing in front of council.
Okay, thank you very much.
More public comment?
Yeah.
Don Hebner with the Conshohocken Plymouth White Marsh Rotary Club, and Tom is with me from the Conshohocken.
Tom Cassidy.
Yeah, Tom Cassidy. Rotary members live or work in the communities of Conshohocken, Plymouth, and White Marsh, and some both live and work in the community. And we're first and foremost a service organization. We exist to do service projects. And the net proceeds of our fundraisers are used to support these service projects, many or most of which are local. And the Conshohocken Beer Fest is our primary fundraiser. And some of the funding we raise goes to things like Colonial Neighborhood Council, which was a project our club took on 10 plus years ago as a service project. And over a period of 10 years, we were able to replace all of the old single pane windows with new vinyl windows. That was 30 of them, plus the doors. And we were able to apply for state grants and our own matching funds to replace the furnace, the roof, the siding, all new gutters, and the bathroom project, fire alarm, bringing that up, the building up to code. So these are the sort of things we do, and our fundraiser, the Conshohocken Beer Fest, is really important to us. It's by far our largest. It helps us make it possible to fund these service projects which impact our community. So we're here tonight to ask for your support in securing access to the A field. We've been in other places, but most of our attendees are from the area, which is kind of neat. Walk to the event, and the A field is perfect. So we're looking for securing October the 14th with Sunday as a rain date as a backup. And in order to properly plan for a successful and safe event, we'd really like to get the 14th and 15th dates locked in and provide enough lead time to accommodate the Conchi Bears schedule as well. So we're asking for your support in securing the field. Tom?
The only thing I would like to add to that is, our club has been a part of this community since 1925. Members ranging from funeral directors along Fayette, insurance brokers, newspapers, to manufacturing companies that are no longer here. Part of the wonderful prayer in the beginning is to treat all your residents impartial and with an open view and support everybody. And what we're looking for is to continue and be part of the community, just like the parade this past weekend, which was freezing, but it was a wonderful event. And, securing this day will certainly help us provide a safe event for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any more public comment?
Hi, my name is Devin Boyle. I live on 79 Harry Street for the last 3 years, homeowner. 2 questions, and I apologize if this is not the correct forum. Is it too late to put my name in the hat for the comprehensive task force? Would be the first question, and if it is, are there going to be other ways to get involved if you're not on the task force? So I imagine this is for you.
So I would say that we closed for the actual membership for the task force, but we're going to get your name and where you live, because there's going to be plenty of opportunity with a lot of what's going on in the community to be part of it.
Great.
So we definitely will get your name and reach out to you.
Perfect.
And thank you for showing interest.
Sure.
In being part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any more? Any more public comment? Council people, Mayor? Colleen?
Closing comment.
Yeah.
I thought that St. Patrick's Day Parade was a great time and pretty good turnout for how cold it was. And we all enjoyed ourselves and didn't run out of candy.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on the Public Works Department, how fine of a job they did.
Yes.
And I'm out there during them storms, and I know what they do. And I got a couple calls from residents about they were plowed in. But the reason you get plowed in is we have to clear the streets. And it was a unique storm. We had rain, we had hail, we had snow. and people said we didn't get a lot of snow, but when you're out there pushing it, it's compact. We got a lot of snow, and I grew up in the city. If they don't plow your streets, you're driving on 5-6 inches of ice. So we have to kiss the ground that our public works, what they do. They clear the streets, and I think they do a fine job. And the different areas around Conshohocken, I give Conshohocken Public Works a 10, and I give the other ones a 5 or 6 because the main roads were a mess, some of them.
They do are.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I would agree with Bob. I think our guys did a wonderful job on the roads, but they also helped us pull off a great parade.
That's right.
They worked really hard the couple days before and after. Then they got hit with the storm, so they've had a tough week. We're wishing good weather for them.
No, I don't have anything, thank you. I was just impressed in how quickly they cleaned up. That was awesome.
For the parade?
Yeah, for the parade.
They didn't find any candy, though.
Tina, you got anything?
I just have a quick public service announcement. Health and wellness of the community. March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Please make sure that you're aware of that and see your physician.
And there will be more on our website, TV.
Excellent.
You don't have anything, Mike?
And then one other thing, the spring activities flyer did come out for all of the activities for the community. So there is information in there on what's going on at the community center as well as the Conshohocken Rowing Center. So please make sure that you jump on the website and take a look at that.
The only thing I got to say is I'd love to see all your audience here because we usually don't have that many, and I hope you'll keep on coming back and stay in touch and help us with the borough. The more people we have, giving us ideas and the better this borough is going to be. So I'd like to see you all back at all the meetings if you can make them, but whenever you can make them. Okay? Okay, with that, I will say, meeting is adjourned. Look, they give me a new